So the conclusion of the matter is, I remember, I've been reflecting, like I said before, earlier in June, or was that late May? I think it was earlier in June, where found myself reflecting on, my earlier years, my adolescent years and preteen years, and today I found myself going even as, far back as to, very young, probably about 7 years old or so. And also I guess would also be about 8 or 9 years old. I'm for a little less than 5 years older than my so-called half sister. I call her half sister because we do not come from the same seed. And that's another discovery that I found, which I believe the Bible actually affirms that. I don't want to misquote the Bible because but when you come from the same seed, you are pretty much the same. Now modern culture, especially Western culture, I believe, particularly I don't know how it is that black people think that way, because I don't think many Caucasians think like that. More in which you come from I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know how Caucasians, they perceive that to be, but based on what I've observed within the black community, once you come from the same womb, it's like you're more of a sibling, contrary to if you come from the same seed. Now you've got a lot of people out there, they've got siblings, who they share the same father with, but different mothers, who they pretty much do not consider themselves to be much siblings. They pretty much consider themselves to be more like half siblings. And I'm gonna tell you why that is so. It's a manipulation and deception and illusion cast by these black mothers. And then you've got these siblings that you share with your mothers with, that come from completely different seeds, that people within the black community consider to be more, they're more of their siblings, and that's not correct. That's not true, because the seed, remember, the seed is the, what do you call it, the essence. It is, it comes with a lot of purpose. It, because it tells you the origin and the type. Now, I did say in an earlier video, way down on my timeline, if you scroll down, where I was, making reference to a lot of these black men ditching darker skinned black women to get with lighter skinned black women, because, in a bid to think that they're gonna get light skinned babies. And I was like, no, it does not work like that, because Negroes, you got black seeds. You cannot escape that. Getting a light-skinned chick knocked up is not going to give you, it does not guarantee, let me just rephrase that, you getting a light-skinned baby. And I see a lot of dark-skinned men do that in, and in the black communities, especially these celebrities, quote-unquote celebrity black men, they always tend to, scroll for the, browse for the lighter skinned black woman, if they get with black women any at all. And at the end of the day, they always, majority of them, they end up with, and some of them women from other races, but at the end of the day, if you look at it, majority of them, they end up with dark skinned babies nonetheless. And there's a way, to tell when these men, not all of these men get with lighter skinned black women or women from other races because they are self-hating, coon-ass Negroes. No, not all of them. Some of them, it's just really connection. But majority, I'm going to tell you, majority of these black men get with women of lighter skin or women from other races because they hate themselves. And this is something that these Israelite men, these black men, have been doing for ages. browse the Bible. Not browse, read the Bible, read the Old Testament. How the Most High spoke of, these, Israelite men having a lust. It's them same one reincarnate, having that lust from the beginning for, women of other nations. Because they've always hated themselves. And, Spirit, Most High, is constantly teaching them to love themselves. But it's like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I've figured out that there is a way to tell when these men actually get with, lighter skinned black women or women from other races. Just because, of, the fact that they hate themselves and they really want lighter skinned babies. The babies they never born with light skin. Now a lot of people gonna come at me for that. I don't give two F's. Because, that's what the Most High has revealed to me intuitively. It's a way of, shaming them. Shaming them for hating themselves. Now you got dark-skinned black men. They mate with women from other races, lighter-skinned black women, and these babies are born, seemingly, like, as though they're, from, the other nation, or they are born with light pigments, but those are for the men who, got with them women authentically out of, genuine love. Now, the ones who really don't love themselves, maybe, the fact that they, kept getting dark-skinned babies, or they got dark-skinned babies, was a bitch wake-up call for them, to wake up and to love themselves and realize, hey, shit, it's really not who I knock up, it's me. I got, the DNA code. How is this? Because you're the seed, you carry the seed. The woman is just the soil, okay, that you plant that seed in. And that's why you find, dark-skinned women getting with lighter-skinned men or men from other races, having a higher probability or chance of getting, babies more resounding or, looking like they belong to the other races, or as though they're not really bred from, dark-skinned women. But they are. It has nothing to do much with the soil. It's pretty much mostly 75% to 85% to do with the seed. Exactly as is so. You mark my words. Now that's them, 25 to 15% chance is for them men who authentically get with, them women out of love and not merely lust, because they, think that lighter skin is, more beautiful than, darker skin, because that's not true. Beauty, comes in variations. Variation, variety, yeah. And so, and a lot of these lighter skinned black women too, they get, they've gotten a bitch wake up calls when they realize that, oh shit, I actually, really don't affect the type of baby this man gets. He is a black man, and, that's pretty much that. And even women from other races. So, all this competition between the light-skinned black woman and the dark-skinned black woman is just pretty much, vain and trivial. And a waste of everybody's fucking time. Especially you dark-skinned black woman and you light-skinned black woman. Because a lot of you have received bitch wake-up calls to realize that, okay, the color of your, skin has nothing to do with the color, complexion rather, child you give birth to. Okay, it all depends on the man. It's genetics. Okay, because he's the bearer of the seed. You feel me? That's pretty much the video that I did way down on my timeline, regurgitated pretty much. And then there's another video that I did after that about recessive genes. Okay, where I touched on, recessive genes and dominant genes, okay? So a lot of times you have, a family mix, because most of these black families are mixed, okay? And you got, say for example, you got, four sisters, okay? I'm gonna use, for example, this, particular, the dysfunctional family I was grown in. I'm not even going to say I was grown in it. Most dad pretty much took me out of it and, was, growing me and nurturing me all on his own. So I was like pretty much on my own in a, kind of mental sense. So I was like telling my sons the other day that they got to learn to think for themselves, because when I was growing up, I never had anyone to help me. None of my older sisters helped me with my school studies, not even from primary school, not even in basic school. I can't recall, not even in high school. I never had any help from my mother either, where my studies were concerned, in terms of how does this go, blah blah blah. I pretty much had to use my brain and think. So they gotta learn to think. Now I'm getting back to, say for example, you got four sisters, two of a lighter shade, two of a darker shade. Say for example, alright, I'm gonna say my mother's quote unquote mother, she had a bit of a light pigment, she had light brown eyes, okay, she gave birth to some daughters, some bearing a similar resemblance, some no, okay. My mother did not, come with that, appearance, and, but, that didn't mean that, that doesn't mean that, that's just it. Period. Dot. She has them genetics from her mother with about the light brown eyes, or hazel eyes if you want to call it, and that light pigment. Some of you want to call it yellow bone. Skin complexion, which is kind of weird, because on her national ID she looked so much darker, but in some of the photos she pretty much had a light pigment to her skin, and some of her daughters pulled from that, because their father, as to what I got to know, he was very dark. What I heard, he was very dark in complexion, though he could have been, a carrier of a particular gene that was, recessive in him, that was made dominant in some of his children. So we never really know how that goes. But pretty much, he gives birth to four daughters, two, born, with, her mother's gene being, dormant in us, somehow, and the other two, being born with, it being dominant, so it's, manifested in their physical form, okay. But and then again, the frequencies, natal chart frequencies and aspects have a lot to do with that as well, because you find over the years, for some of us, upon, completing, for example, our first Saturn return, having our first Saturn return, we find that we start to morph, and then we find that some of us, our pigments begin to get lighter. Our eye colors eyes color may even change, may get lighter as well. Yes, that can happen, okay, because there is a transformation upon the completion of a Saturn cycle, or having a Saturn return, and so certain dormant genes then become dominant, or certain recessive genes then become dominant. And then you've got, let me just not go too far into that right now. You've got okay, so the two lighter skin sisters, and they may have children, but guess what, their children most likely may be born with darker complexion, in comparison to the two darker sisters, okay, because the genes that were dormant within us becomes dominant within our children, if you get what I'm trying to say. And the genes that were dormant within them, which is that darker pigment, becomes dominant in their children, okay. So okay, them boys, their father's got yellow pigment, but his father is a dark-skinned man. His grandfather is a dark-skinned man as well, which is his father's father, very dark-skinned. And he, is from a very mixed family because, and I can use that family as a prime example. So, all brothers of them that, the mother and the father, his mother and father, came together and, procreated and created. They were born with light pigment. With the sisters, it varied. Okay, so there were 2 sisters born, from the mother and the father, procreating together. Yes, right. The mother, she's had a daughter, prior to coming into union with the father, and the father he has, or had, I don't know if they're still living, daughters, prior to coming together with the mother. Yeah, but together they only produce 2 daughters. Okay, one very light pigment, yellow tone, and one, dark pigment, brown tone. And the light, believe you people, the yellow toned sister, she at the time that I knew of them, she had 2 children, a daughter and a son, and both of them were very dark skinned. I mean, darker than me, or probably well, the fact that my skin, is transforming, undergoing a transformation, I must say darker than my skin tone, right? And she conceived for a black man, yeah. But it's not just because she conceived for a black man, but it's because she's got that dark pigment in her that's that was recessive, dormant, that was made dominant in her children, especially because she procreated with a dark man who most likely didn't have much mix in his family, where in which you've got some recessive light skin genes to maybe pull upon. Okay, and then you have the darker skinned sister, brown toned sister, who she gave birth to 2 children, and both of her children are lighter toned than or lighter complexion to the yellow toned sister. Look at that. Especially the little girl that she gave birth to. Now that little girl took a lot from her, I'm not even going to say her mother, because though the mother is light skinned, okay, she does not have light pigmented eyes. Okay, so I'm going to say she more pulled, though the mother was also a carrier, don't get me wrong, of that, genetics from, her mother. Okay, which I suppose had hazel eyes, and that's the color eyes that, the little girl, has. Though we know that even the eye color, can also be transformed. At the time, she had hazel eyes, and she was about 6-7 years old. That was the last time I saw her, or about that, 6-7 years old. And though the mother was not, and there was one of the brother who's got hazel eyes, okay, but he's the only brother who got that dominant trait of all the children that she procreated and conceived with the father. Okay, and of the grandchildren, that little girl, that the dark skinned sister, which is pretty much the only dark skinned child that was bred from the union of the mother and the father, because the 3 brothers are light pigment, including my son's father, and the older sister to her is also light pigment. So she's like pretty much like a black cat, in a way. Not necessarily, she's not necessarily the black cat, because she's darker tone, but in that aspect, yeah, she stands out, because she's the only one who does not have that gene dominant, but it was passed on to her daughter. Even the hazel eyes, full blown. And that's how genetics works sometimes. So a lot of you men out there are so shallow. You're looking for these light skin toned skin complexion woman. You don't understand how genetics go. You gotta be with someone because you love them, not because you want to, you want light skinned babies. How pathetic is that? That just go and love yourselves. Hell is this? So I'm gonna go on to, I did talk about a reading that I listened to, and in regards to an intuitive talking about a quote unquote sibling of mine stalking me, who's very inferior towards me, because and another one told me that the sibling is envious of my children, okay, and she's envious because she's got a lighter tone complexion than I. But, for some reason, people, tend to favor me more. Like, for example, these obsessive men. And though they, they disrespect me in all kinds of ways, they lurk and they stalk. And they, they troll. And she knows that. They all know. And, as a matter of fact, they're the ones who actually, corrupt their minds or corrupted their minds towards me. But, I've been saying, and I must say again, they weren't my true life partners, because the right man, there's nothing you can say to him that's going to discourage him from a wonderful woman like me. He's going to see through the illusions. He's going to see, through the smokes and mirrors. He's going to see through the deceptions. He's going to see that you're just hateful bitches. You're just jealous. And so, I've lost nothing. I'm not weeping. I'm not mourning over the men who came and left, because I learned from them. I learned a lot from, being around them, from being with them. I learned a lot, even, in terms of valuing myself and respecting myself even more. So, when you see the lessons, you don't get stuck on the hurt or the pain. You move on and you take the lessons with you. Okay, so what the devil meant for evil, God, allows for good. And, it was today, it really struck me, because I went up, to take a shit. And, and, whilst, on my way out, I saw her, whack it off my son's head, like, bitch, what the hell are you doing to my sons? Are you trying to break their necks? I'm not sure, because she was doing it as though she's being playful, but you gotta be able to see beyond all of the bullshit and see beyond the smokes and mirrors and the illusions that they try to create. And I saw that she was trying to do something to their minds. That's why she had her hands on their heads and jerking their heads. But she was doing it as though she was being playful. You see, people, that's some real snake-like attitude and mentality. And I'm not talking the good kind of snake like Virgo, Hecate, the Hermit. I'm talking like some real hateful shit, like you really projecting negatively upon them. And I notice, I can tell when people, are being projected upon. They behave out of sorts and out of character. And she's been doing that, and there's retribution coming in for her. Judgment is coming in. It's already been prophesied, and it's going to be so horrible. And that's all stemming from imbalance that led to mental derangement that has her thinking in such a sadistic and cruel way. And they do a lot of, cruel things, and, they sit back and they laugh. Like in regards to the demise and the ending of my connections. But, it's a pity they didn't know they were laughing, but their laugh was, one of ignorance. The Most High was really laughing at them whilst they were, doing their ignorant laughs, because the Most High saw their end. And how curmudgeon they pretend to be, and how godly they pretend to be, putting on a form of godliness, but denying God's power, because one who truly reverences the Almighty, does not think themselves so cunning to do them shit and then go and be having these lengthy ass, what do you call it, stage like, priors that is like a show or a performance. No, there's no deceiving of the Spirit of God. Unless now you are mentally deranged. And that makes sense, because God, He gives us the spirit of love and of a sound mind. And once we've got sound mind, we never think to ourselves that we can, do cruel things and get away with it, because God, He knows He's the judge of all. He says, leave all vengeance to me. So whatever it is that you thought I wronged you of, you have no reason to play God and try to cast judgment on me, for one, and definitely not upon my children. That's you being wicked as hell and hateful as hell. So, Spirit revealed to me, and then when I came downstairs, I touched them, I prayed for them. When I came downstairs, she tried to send back, whatever spell and intention she was putting on them, that I wiped away. But pity she didn't know that, whatever prayer I prayed was so that she could never do it again. So her trying to do it again was just, her really sealing her fate right there. Sealing her fate, because she actually sent him down here, pretending that, she did that through influencing his, decision. Yes, to want to just suddenly come outside. People do them stuff. Influence his emotions. And that's that moon in Capricorn, abusing, one's emotions. And he came down here, and I picked up on that immediately. And I did what Spirit said to do, to free him of that energy, and signed and sealed and deliver her fate. Because enough is enough, Spirit says. Stop being so hateful and envious. Yeah? If you think that you're better than me because you have what? Half shade lighter than me, or if you even want to call it a shade lighter than me, okay, then them yellow, like real yellow bone chicks out there, then they're better than you, bitch. If you're gonna think so shallow and in such a vain, petty, arrogant, ignorant way, and then you say you've attended university, you've got a bachelor's in what? And that's why I be telling people, listen, it's not the education that makes you wise, it's the fear of God. Knowing that, listen, none of us are holier than thou, or at any place to judge anybody, to say that, one doesn't deserve a particular lifestyle, and, you deserve something more than someone. The hell is this? That's you being mentally deranged. That's you not fearing God and accepting His judgment and decision, because He gives us all fates and destinies. And He says, okay, that's dispense. Her destiny is so and so. How dare you go up against that? He says that people ought to favor me. I can say whatever He tells me to say and be protected. You don't try that. You're going to get killed. Because that's not your destiny, that's not your purpose. And then when I came down here, prior to my son, she sending my younger son, Asher, down here with whatever negative intentions she sent upon him. Before that, I found myself remembering, while I was growing up. She was always trying to one-up me, always trying to be me. Always. And there it hit me. I had this grand realization. I always sensed this, but then I realized that, oh my Lord. And she would tell, some horrible lies against me. And it was like I fought then a losing battle, because like I've been saying, a lot of times when these mothers they break up with the fathers, though the men, when they break up with the mothers, it seems as though they break up with the children. No, it's really the mothers who break up with the children. Though the children are with them, there's no connection between them and the children. And that's why, as I've been saying, it would have been better off if a lot of them were actual absentee mothers, because they did more harm, than the absentee fathers. Because their prime focus was always and is always on what? The quote-unquote golden egg. But you don't decide who the golden egg is. The Most High decides that. So because the child, they get within a union that in which they could get money or get a certain lifestyle from, they tend to worship the children from them unions as though they are the golden the golden children. So you find they invest more in them, they spend more on them, they quote unquote nurture them more. But Most High, he has a way of disciplining what do you call it, selfish parents like those. Because there's that scripture that says the stone which the builders reject becomes the builder rejects, paraphrasing, becomes the head cornerstone. And when I say paraphrasing, I mean there could be one or two words that is not exact. Okay? So the stone that the builder rejects become the head cornerstone. So the golden egg that y'all thinking, them children wanna call wash belly picking, when you check it out, I really one of them. They really give these men. Yeah, and they claim that they love them, they're the ones, but they only give them give birth to one child, for them. When you check it out, no. Because even though they invest so much into them and send them to universities and spend so much money, and everybody else from the dysfunctional family invests so much into them, it's just a waste. Because whatever it is that they've accomplished, or you think that they're onto, is nothing like what the true golden egg will be onto, or is onto. You see, all of these discoveries that I've come upon with no help from any of these dysfunctional so-called, family members that I was grown up with. Because, God is, the ultimate mother and father. He says, when your mother and father forsakes you, then he will take you up. And, it's a blessing when you're the black sheep, because the Most High is the best parent there can ever be. There can never be anyone as great as the Most High God. No father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no child, no friend, no lover. And I can say that for a fact because I've been through many cycles, and I can say, there's no lover like the Most High God. There's no child like the Most High God. Okay? Because sometimes your children, they will choose luxury to be with other people rather than to be in your nurturing presence. And I saw that, where my older son Joshua, is concerned. I'm not sad, because that's how it is with a lot of these children out there. Yeah? But it's a beautiful thing that I came to the realization of that before, they're grown men. So I know exactly the different kind of children I'm dealing with. I know who's who, basically. I know not to put my trust in lovers or a husband, because, they will sell you out, for a nickel, for a dime. Even so-called siblings and parents will try to sacrifice you, because they can't sacrifice the golden egg. The hell is this? They can sacrifice them karmics. Yes, them, the ones who they thought to have been golden eggs, but truly are not. Yeah. Because once they, learn the lessons that them karmics came to teach them, that, listen, it ain't all that glitters is gold. Not because, this child came from a particular union, or they looked so and so, they come out of your crotches red and bottom. Exactly, or grow, looking exactly like that. A lot of them, they're, like I said, upon, completion of Saturn cycles, people tend to morph. And that's why it's never good to decide how, one is going to end up by, just their beginning. Sometimes, for the sages of us, we can sometimes, but you're no sage, so don't do that. And even then, only the Most High knows. So I realized, no, she was always an enemy against me. It's that moon in Capricorn. And she would tell lies on me. As I remember a particular lie she told on me. And I remember a particular reader saying this, recently, a few days ago, over the weekend, I think, that, a lot of times, even the people who I grew up with, these dysfunctional so-called family members, a lot of times when I was actually being truthful, they thought I was lying. And when I was actually lying, they thought I was being truthful. So I've told a lot of people that they don't know me. They don't know me. They use themselves to judge me. And you cannot use your character to judge someone else's. Because you're going to be very inaccurate. Because you must understand that we're not all the same. And I remember a particular lie she told on me, that I, rubbed pepper in her eyes. And I could never recollect that memory. And the mere thought of it was just very disturbing, because I cannot imagine doing something like that. Not even as a child, because I've always been empathic. I've always been caring and nurturing. But she was a strong, powerful enemy, karmic, that, was just there, not just to teach me a valuable lesson, but to teach the rest of them people a valuable lesson. To never judge a book by its cover. So a song that I, recorded, further on my timeline, it was so simple, but, it means a lot. Despite of the simplicity of it. I was that little black picnic, just dark skin, because I always loved the sun. I always loved playing in the sun. Whenever I watch my complexion, as a child, you have some kids nowadays, I'll do them something there. That is so unchildlike. But I loved playing. I was just full of joy. Like I said, I'm a very balanced person. When I was a child, I would act like a child. Being a woman now, I put away childish things. No care how much games me download, put on my phone, I just never come around to playing them. I always find something else to do. I never got to that point of, strict boredom in which I had the appetite to play them games, to be honest. It was probably like a 5% time, 5 to, 2%, 1%, time of my adult life that I would actually engage in them games. And it really, made me realize that I'm truly a balanced person. Because Mosai said that when you're a child, you engage in childish activities, paraphrasing again. But once you become a man, or a woman, you put away childish things. And that's why I don't play games with people. When you disrespect me a certain way, that's it. I'm playful, I'm sociable, I'm full of life, I'm full of joy, I make you very happy. But do not take advantage of that persona. Because once you start to take advantage of that, then you get to see a different aspect of me. If you go and listen to the White Lady, to the love readings that I recently uploaded, there was, for the water signs in love, there was a White Lady, energy that I pulled from the fairy tarot. And another one prior to the White Lady, frequency that speaks of a woman who is just like me. That's who I am. Yeah, I'm very passionate and, loving, and I make you feel like, you're the sun, like everything revolves around you, and, I socialize with you, I, entertain you. But once you hurt me, You disrespect me. You betray me. I see you in a completely different light. It's like all smokes and mirrors are dispersed. And once I see you for, who you really are, there's no going back for me. Then you see a different side of me, which a lot of these people are seeing now, who I'm exposing. Because they're, going to do it to someone else if I don't expose them. They have done what they're doing to me to other people. And so whilst, on everything good for eat, good for talk, there's some things that need, to be exposed and revealed. Like I said, a lot of you black people, certain things, them something they want to love talk about. Things are not really helping anybody. But I know that all of these things I've been talking about, they're helping people, and they will help many people. A lot of you will realize that you're not alone. Damn, she actually go through something like that too. Like, that's my exact, experience, my exact experiences. Because we are soul tribe members, we're family members, spiritually. We belong to the same spirit family, the same soul tribe. Now we are family. We cannot understand why people, think in a cruel, sadistic way. Because we're not cruel or sadistic. But, we can, come to the knowledge, as to why they behave a certain way. And like I said, placements and aspects, and imbalance of, frequencies and imbalance in their natal charts. The yin and the yang. So you can't have two yins and you can't have two yangs. You gotta have a yin and a yang, okay, to strike that balance. That balance in perspective or perception. So you don't look at a situation one-sided, because that can and definitely will lead to mental derangement. And so pretty much, even though I never had friends, I never ventured much outside of the quote-unquote family home, if that's what it was, they were my lessons. They were also my subjects. And, that concludes, my first Saturn return. And I'm most grateful. Though very horrific and confusing for most of the time, I can say I now understand that aspect of my life. I now understand that first 30 years of my life. I understand. They were all lessons. It was a process. It's a spiraling staircase. And now I've been reborn. I'm a child again, learning again. Similar lessons, but, seeing them from different perspectives. Having, bearing different, perceptions. And so, we need to, like I've been preaching, get rid of this whole issue of colorism within the black community, because there will always be a woman lighter shade than you. And then you have the white woman, the Chinese woman, the Japanese woman, the Korean woman. Are you saying all of them women are better than you because you think yourself to be better than I am? Is it not our nature or our character that, creates a distinction as to who is righteous and who's unrighteous, who is better or who is worse? It has nothing to do with the ego. It has nothing to do with the body. Whilst on certain levels or certain degrees, yes, because, a lazy spirit, results in a lazy body, and you can tell a lazy body. You can tell a lazy spirit in regards to, a lazy body. Because, the aspects, triggers you to be lazy. in body because, you got lazy spirit or a lazy spirit. And that, triggers you to develop, all types of ailments, certain specific ailments. And you find that, the beginning is the end. So you were born with, a particular sense of frequencies. There are things that are gonna happen that's gonna, affect your body, that's gonna cause your body to, develop these ailments. And it is pretty much what it is. Romans 8, those whom the Lord, foreknew, them he also predestined and preordained to be his children and saints. So I'm going to leave it there. If y'all have any problem with, your aspects and or placements, take it up to the Most High in prayer. Do not hate on his saints. Do not hate on the little children. Stop provoking them. Stop projecting upon them. Stop hurting them. Stop projecting upon me. Stop trying to project upon me. Stop trying to hurt me. Stop trying to afflict me. Because the more you do that, you're angering the Spirit of the Most High God. Because what did he say in regards to the little children? Hurt none of these, because such are the children of heaven. They are so humble that despite of how horrible they treat them, these little boys, they always, are so nice to them. And the mere fact that they cannot look into that and look into themselves and introspect and say, oh, what I'm doing is so wrong, speaks of actual mental derangement. And it really, explains us, why I've been always trying to get my sons far away from them, irregardless of, the lack of money and all of that. It's because it's not all about money, it's about their safety. And I believe I'm balanced. I know I'm not mentally deranged. I have a balanced way of thinking. Plus, upon, fully getting to understand these natal aspects, I realized that I truly am a balanced person. I've always felt that way. And now I've seen the evidence of it. So I trust that I'm able to care for them. So I get angry, yeah? But I don't abuse them. I have control of that anger. Anger is an emotion. We are free to experience anger. No one is perfect, especially when you carry on with some BS like provoking children. How does one get off on provoking children? I don't see how you get off on provoking anyone for that matter, but especially children. They're such innocent, sweet children for that matter. Like, seriously, you are mentally deranged. You're not, mentally ill, okay? Because that's acceptable, but you are mentally deranged, and that's a call for concern. And I'm going to leave it right there. So, these people help me to understand a lot about psychology, and, astrology. And so, therefore, what, the enemies, they've meant for evil, God allowed for good. He has allowed it, all of that to happen for me to, come to this, realization. Yeah? And many more things that I've, realized, and, many, many more, to come. Because I'm the hermit. I'm always seeking. I'm always finding. I'm always discovering. And, I never forget the Most High God. It's not all about being up in the synagogue of Satan with them, devil worshippers and satanic people who are, so, low vibrating and negative. Yeah? Never, using their words to speak life. Because, though sometimes they may pretend to speak life over you, they use them same tongues to speak death and evil over your life. And so it's pretty much, useless that they even, said anything to begin with. How about just not say anything? I believe we're better off that way. And I will just leave it right there. The key is balance. I've been repping that, from my previous Instagram, SKYYGoddessInfinity. And though I always knew that that was very crucial as to attaining harmony and peace, yeah, and therefore inspiration. Now I see a deeper connectivity there, the physical connection there. And I give all thanks, like I said in the first video, in regards to this major scientific discovery in the field of psychology, in collaboration with astrology, that it's all thanks, yes, to the Great Spirit, the Most High God, yeah. Yeah, because I couldn't have done it on my own. I've been receiving a lot of fight from a lot of people, everybody I've come across. And it was only Spirit that, was, really and authentically, genuinely helping me. And I gotta give Spirit all the praise. And with that being said, I give you Musaiga thanks. Namaste. Soul family and soul tribe.